Welcome to Atheist Open Mic, where atheists can ask questions, comment or discuss with Sacerdotus on air. Viewers send your questions or comments. And now here is your host and moderator, Sacerdotus.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another broadcast of Atheist Open Mic. Unfortunately, once again, I have not received any contact from any atheists or anyone who wanted to participate tonight. So I guess it's going to be another monologue. And it's understandable why some people may not want to participate. They may be afraid, thinking that their ideas will be destroyed or tackled on the air. And many people do not like that. Many people do not like to be made to feel stupid or whatnot. But I want to reiterate that this platform that I created about 2 years ago now is for atheists to come and to speak freely. Obviously, I would prefer no vulgarity or cuss words or whatnot. Just come express any ideas, any disagreements, any problems, comments, whatever comes to mind in an adult, civilized manner, and be at ease that nobody's going to proselytize you, try to convert you, try to convince you to the point of that you feel that they're trying to convert you into their faith or whatnot. This is a platform for atheists to just come on and speak freely, to speak to myself or anyone else who's on with me. And we're pretty much amongst family, amongst friends. So there's no need for any atheists out there to feel apprehensive on coming on the program. Now, I do have requirements, which may be another reason why some people may not want to participate. And these requirements are set up for a reason. And I'm going to share the screen with you so that you can know what I'm talking about. Now, at the screen, if Google was cooperating with me tonight, you can see the screen. It says to be on Sacerdotus Hangouts, Atheist Open Mic, Catholic Open Mic, or to contact the show, go to email me here. And of course, the email will be highlighted there, which is sacerdotushangouts@sacerdotus.com. Now, this is a brand new email, so the old one will not be working. This is the one that I'm going to be using now for the time being. And the requirements to be on either of these programs, Sacerdotus Hangouts, particularly, I usually do this by myself, just talk on a specific topic, but I may invite somebody once in a while to interview or not, even though I usually do interviews on Sacerdotus Radio. And Atheist Open Mic and Catholic Open Mic are what they are, open mics for people to come on and speak. Atheists is obviously focused on atheism, even though we could talk on different topics, but it's mainly focused on atheism and atheists. So atheists are welcome to participate, come, bring their comments, their questions, and whatnot. And Catholic Open Mic is obviously focused on Catholics. So Catholics who usually have the floor and are welcome to come and discuss different topics related to the Catholic religion, the Catholic Church, the papacy, and so forth. And of course, anybody's invited to either of them, and it's not written in stone that one show is just for atheists and one is for just Catholics. It's just that I wanted to separate them so that anyone who's interested in the content could usually screen them out. If they want to hear atheists speaking or discussing with theists, they could go to Atheist Open Mic. If they want to hear Catholics, maybe a Catholic wants to hear a discussion on Amoris Laetitia or something like that, or the discussion, the debate now about the Holy Communion for divorce, or just recently there's rumors circulating that the Pope might allow married priests or people, men who are married or ready to become priests, similar to the permanent diaconate. So there might be somebody out there who's interested in just listening to a conversation among Catholics. So they could search for the Catholic Open Mic on the broadcast on that if we ever had that. I'm hoping to have that. And of course, to contact the show for any suggestions, questions, and whatnot. And if you want to be on either of these programs, these are the requirements. Send an email showing interest 2 hours before the broadcast. So I have to know beforehand that you're going to participate. I try to be very punctual, very strict about that. And that's just to keep everything orderly so I know who's going to be on and how it's going to turn out, time limit, and so forth and whatnot. And give a brief introduction in the email. Tell me about yourself. What do you do? Are you atheist? Are you not atheist? Are you Catholic or not Catholic? What do you do? Are you a student? You have a specific employment or your expertise in the field? Do you study philosophy? Do you study theology, mathematics, physics, whatever it is? Or do you just have a high school diploma? Just tell me something a little bit about you so that I could present you, introduce you to the people on air. The next thing is show some form of ID. Doesn't have to be necessarily a driver's license or anything like that, but just some sort of ID identification, just letting me know that you're a real person, your real name and your person. Obviously, if you do not want your real name announced on the YouTube, then just let me know in the email. I'm showing you this ID, but please delete it afterwards. Do not say my name, and I will kindly respect that. Obviously, I use anonymity myself for spiritual reasons. I do not want to become the superstar and whatnot. I want to be the hidden apostle, so to speak. But eventually, I will have to reveal myself. Eventually, when the time for taking the full ministry into the priesthood takes forward, so I will have to sort of come out, so to speak, in the Catholic sense of the blogosphere. Well, attach the face to the Sacerdotus one. But just send me something to verify that you're a real person. I know many so-called atheist accounts out there like to use pseudonyms and whatnot, and that's okay if you want to use that. But I want this to be a respectable program, not just people just talking nonsense. And if we start using little gimmicky names, then nobody's going to take this seriously or take the person speaking seriously. So I just want to have some verification that this person is actually a real person, and obviously an adult. Preferably, I will not allow minors to participate. Obviously, with the safety environment programs in archdioceses throughout the world and the United States, we were told to be careful with our contact with minors. So obviously, I have to be careful when speaking to minors online because anything could happen. There could be accusations. Somebody could say, "Oh, he did this, he said that," and it could obviously be problematic. So to avoid all that, I prefer not to allow minors. Obviously, this is a public platform, open platform, so people are watching it all around the world live in real time. So obviously, nothing's going to happen, even though if a minor comes on or a child, something comes on, and so obviously nothing bad will be going on because it's public. Everybody will be seeing what's going on, and the discussion will be about atheism, religion, and whatnot, nothing else. And unless they want to talk about video games or comic books, I have no problem discussing that. And just as long as it's innocent and legal and whatnot. And then again, no pseudonyms or alter egos, only real legal names. And again, if you do not want to use your real name, just give me a nickname that you want to be addressed by, a nickname that's not something gimmicky. Just if your name is Steven and you want to be called Steve, then that's fine. And show proof of academic credentials if you're claiming to be an expert in area academia. So if you claim that you're a philosopher or scientist or mathematics teacher or whatnot, provide some proof. And again, this is not going to go on the air. I'm not going to go before the broadcast and say, "Oh, this is this guy and this is his diploma." All of that is private. Again, this is just for me, for my information, to know that you're not just a troll coming on to disrupt. like what happened to the broadcast back in June, where this person called Sock Account, um, I invited him, gave him the benefit of the doubt to see if he will truly engage, but he started acting erratic. Him and Dean got into a little spat offline and this guy just started acting stupid and started cursing at me and calling me names and just acting really crazy and disruptive. And that's not what we want in this kind of broadcast. We want atheists, people who are real atheists, people who know what they're talking about, who genuinely want to learn and want to discuss and want others to learn from them, but without bashing, without insults and all that stuff. Just be an adult about it. So obviously, I need to see some proof that you're educated, that you have some, if you claim to be uh, an expert in something. Because it would be foolish if I invite, let's say, an architect on and the person doesn't even know how to measure. I mean, it would be ridiculous. And then the program will lose credibility. So this is to protect the credibility of the program. And webcam is not necessary unless you want to use it. Some people set up streaming and all that stuff. I really do not know how to do that. Hopefully in the future I'll learn and I could do set up streaming and all those things with different camera angles and all that. But in the meantime, I'm using Google Hangouts, and for the most part, it's a pretty good platform. It could be a little bit better, but for my use, it's pretty good. And when other people participate, the angle of the screen changes, the camera, so to speak, changes to whoever's speaking. So you have a webcam. When you start speaking, your face will come out, your webcam signal. When I talk, my symbol will come out and whatnot. That's how Google Hangout works. So again, you're free to use a webcam if you want to. It's not necessary at all. And again, I understand some people want to be anonymous online because in the age of memes, people do not want their face or their images to be used for mockery and things like that, because obviously that's detrimental effects on your job and family and so forth. If you're applying to college and somebody takes your image and starts making memes out of them or post them on a pornographic site, that could be very problematic. So I understand all of that and do not demand that anybody come on with a webcam on that. And no tampering with Hangouts microphone controls. And doing so will get you ejected. Again, that happened with what I just mentioned about this person who came on in June and started muting me as I was trying to answer his questions. He started muting my microphone. And at the time, I did not know anybody could do that. I thought only the one who started the Hangouts had control. But apparently others have control of the microphone. They could do that as well, which I think is ridiculous. And I think Google should really fix that and just allow the people who start the Hangouts to be able to control the microphones and whatnot. So again, if you start playing around with a microphone, I'm going to eject you immediately. And in order for you to come back on the show, you have to apologize publicly. And you must wait your turn to speak. Again, this should be things you learn in kindergarten. Be polite, and use polite interrupting words, so to speak, like "excuse me," "pardon me," or "I beg your pardon," or and things like that, so you could get your turn. And warnings will be given if not followed by prior to ejection. So I'm going to warn you before I throw you out if you continue with that behavior. And you must back up claims with appropriate evidence. So you claim that there's aliens on Jupiter, then back it up, show some information. And don't come with Wikipedia or personal websites and this and that. That's not really valid information. Use domains with the edu prefix or ending in the domain name, or peer-reviewed journals or published reputable books that you could present on the screen sharing and whatnot. And other than that, if you make any claim, I'm going to attack you on it. So you better be prepared to defend it. So the best way to do it is to actually show the source of it, and then we can proceed with a discussion on it. Other than that, I would just dismiss it, attack it, and just throw it out. Just tell the viewers that it's just your opinion. It's not really anything more than that. So these are the requirements for anyone to be participate any of these broadcasts. And again, I welcome anybody to come and just have a discussion, and then we move on from there. A nice civil discussion without any problems, without any arguments or anything like that. I mean, in life we have enough headaches, stress. I mean, why not? Why add to it with by fighting on Hangouts? So I just expect people to come on and just have a nice discussion. Of course, there's going to be disagreements and whatnot. That's natural and that's good. There should be disagreements because that's how we learn, and we can move on from there. Now, since no atheists contacted me, a couple of them messaged me on Twitter saying what time is going to be the broadcast one night, and I tell them that to email me and give them the link and the information they have to provide to be on the broadcast, and they never get back to me. So I'm not sure why they keep asking that they want to be on, and then they don't follow through with the requirements to be on. So since tonight, it seems somewhat to be a monologue, I just am going to pretty much ad lib, just talk about different things that come to mind in the realm of atheism and whatnot. And a good thing that comes to mind in regards to atheism is prayer. Many people have been skeptic of prayer. Many atheists have been skeptic of prayer. Some people on Twitter, whenever I ask for donations and things like that, they say, "Oh, why don't you pray to God? That God doesn't fill your bank account, whatnot." And that's a problem because they do not understand the theology behind prayer. Prayer is the uplifting of the soul to God, showing that the soul depends on God. And that's pretty much what prayer is. And there's different forms of prayer: prayer of praise, prayer of thanksgiving, prayer of supplication, prayer of contrition, and so forth. And prayer, I know many people think of prayer as, oh, you're asking for something from God, why not? And that's part of it, yes. But there's a deeper meaning behind prayer. Prayer is not just asking God for things as if He were Santa Claus or something. Prayer is, it can be asking God for things because we show our dependence on Him. We show that God is the Father and we are the children, and we're asking our Father for help, which should remind us our place in the cosmos, that we are below God, we are beneath God, we're not gods ourselves. That despite our technologies, our knowledge, and everything, we still depend on God. Prayer is not a wishing well. It's not that God is some sort of a genie that pops out and grants you 3 wishes. That's not how prayer works. So, of course, if I'm going to pray for donations or whatnot, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to open my eyes and there's going to be bags of money in front of me. It just does not work that way. It can if God wishes it, but obviously God has different ways. He works in mysterious ways, and I'm not one to question what ways He's going to work at. And I could just tell you from experience, and I'm sure many others could tell you the same thing, is that God answers prayers in the way that we needed them to be answered, not in the way that we wanted them to be answered. And what I mean by that is that God is all knowing, all powerful, all good. He knows everything before we do. He knows. Despite us having free will, He knows our steps. He knows any mistakes we're going to make and whatnot. So when we pray for something, He already knows what's going to be the outcome. So He knows whether what we're asking for is going to be good or bad. Like, for example, somebody prays to win the Powerball. The Powerball a couple weeks ago or last month, was $400 something million. Now let's say somebody is praying for that, and God grants it to them, and they get $400 million or 200, 300 after taxes. And then the person starts drinking, starts going to strip clubs, starts using drugs, starts buying all kinds of houses, and then forgets that he or she has to pay taxes on them, on each property and the mortgage and all those things. And they go bankrupt, and then they're on the street, and then they're stuck with all these bills of mortgages and whatnot. Obviously, the prayer didn't go towards a good, an ultimate good. It ended up into an ultimate evil, ultimate bad, where the person just went out of control and started buying and purchasing and living a hedonistic life, and just lost it all, and now has nothing, and has the IRS and collection agencies all over him or her. So God, who could see everything and knows everything, he could see this outcome and will know, well, I will not grant this person a prayer because this is what will happen. This is what this person will use their free will for. So that's why the prayer won't be answered in that fashion. So that's why God answers the prayer in the way that we needed them to be answered, not in the way we wanted them to be answered. Because man is not a wise creature. We think we know it all, but we do not. So we pray and we pray, and we do not realize that we make stupid decisions most of the time. But God knows better, and He understands us, and He understands the direction that we are taking our lives. So He knows how to steer the whole situation without interfering with free will. That's why we call Him God, because He's able to do this. So prayer is not some sort of a wishing well where people come and just come and start asking for things, thinking that God is going to be some kind of a genie in a bottle. Um, I forgot the person who sings the song. Um, Shakira, whoever it was, as the genie in a bottle. God is not a genie in a bottle answering prayers and giving you wishes and whatnot. That's not how prayer works. And many atheists have that misconception of prayer. They think that prayer is something that just comes out of nowhere that God grants to us like a genie grants you wishes. That's not what it is at all. Prayer is supposed to be a reminder to the soul that it is dependent on God, that without God it cannot survive. And we read that in the gospel for those Catholics listening to me who went to Mass this past Sunday, the first Sunday of Lent. We read that in the gospel where Jesus is in the desert and Satan appears and starts tempting Jesus, offering all kinds of things. And what does Jesus say? Man does not live on bread alone, but on God's word. So that's a reminder of what prayer is supposed to be, is that we depend on God. We pray to God not because God is supposed to grant us everything or give us things, or we're not like we're spoiled brats. That's not what prayer is. Prayer is a reminder that we are dependent on God, that we do not live on bread alone. We do not live on the things that we make, the food that we grow, the money that we make, the rules of society that we make. We do not live on that alone, but on God's word. Because guess what? At any moment, God could call you home. Any moment, God could say, all human life end, and all human life will end. All these great cities we built, all these countries, and Donald Trump, with his nationalism, make America great again. America would just disappear. Europe would disappear. Everything would just disappear at God's word. If He decided to say one day, let all creation be gone, everything would just disappear. All of our work, all of our knowledge, all of our efforts meant nothing, were nothing. Because what matters in the end is God's word. So that's what Jesus meant when He says, man does not live on bread alone, but on God's word, on the words that come out of God, the Logos, which is Jesus at the time showing His knowledge of Greek philosophy. The philosophers spoke of the logos, the mind, the word going forth in the universe, the creation of the universe. So this is what prayer is all about. So those atheists out there listening who think that God is some sort of a genie granting wishes, that is not how it works at all. Prayer has a much more deeper meaning than what atheists understand. And of course, I do not expect an atheist to understand, because atheists are on a different level, on a different path. So they're still learning. And Christians may not understand prayer sometimes at all. I know some Catholics who just go and pray the rosary as if it was some kind of poetry recital, and do not really put emphasis or understanding on the words of the rosary, the meanings of the mysteries. And they feel like that prayer was an accomplishment, like it was a duty that they had to fulfill. I pray my rosary at 5 o'clock and I'm done for the day. And they do not internalize the rosary. They do not put meaning into what the rosary is all about, what the prayers, what each prayer of the rosary is all about, what each mystery of the rosary is about. They do not put any emphasis on it. And this is because they are on a different path themselves. They're still not yet at that path. They still are not at that point where they have internalized prayer and have become the prayer. That is the ultimate goal of a Christian, is to become the prayer that you're praying. Because when you become the prayer that you're praying, you become an offering to God, a perfect offering to God. Not as perfect as Christ, of course, the Lamb of God, but you become a perfect offering in your own position, your own state of life, when you become the prayer that you're praying. So this is why it's important for Catholics and all Christians to really internalize prayer, to really take prayer and not just recite it like robots. And it just bothers me when I see people sometimes in the mass in the church, and they just blah 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 blah, blah. Sometimes you don't even understand what they're saying, because they're so robotic in their prayer. They see everything as an obligation, as a duty that they have to do, and they do not really internalize it. And when you internalize prayer, it's much better, because you grow spiritually. You start to understand the things of God better. You start growing in grace. And the more you grow in grace, of course, the closer you get to God, and you start to understand what God is all about. And you start to disconnect from the sinful world. You start to understand why sin hurts God and why sin must be avoided. And this is what happens to the saints as they start advancing in the spiritual life. They start to realize what God is all about, and what the importance of growing in God and the relationship with God is. So I do not expect any atheist to truly understand and grasp the meaning of prayer until they actually experienced it. And prayer is something that you have to experience. It's not something that you learn in the book. It's something that you have to experience. You have to learn. It's like when people fall in love. What is love? You cannot really explain what love is unless you actually experience it, unless you've been through it. That you can explain to somebody else what love is. Well, the same thing with prayer. You cannot truly explain with terminology, yes, but not the actual substance of prayer. It's very difficult to explain unless the person that's being explained to actually experiences the prayer. So this is why atheists should try prayer little by little. Try praying to experience the benefits of prayers. Otherwise, they will never understand it. They will never advance from there, from that point, and they will continue in confusion and lack of understanding. But unfortunately, there are many atheists out there who do not want to get to that point, and understandably so. There's so many things that are going on in their mind, so many biased thoughts and whatnot, so many fears and things that are going on. So they're not open right away to, and may never be open to trying prayer and moving on. But again, if you truly want to understand God, if you truly want to understand the religious life, the spiritual life, you have to take the steps. You have to move on and try it. It's just like a roller coaster ride. Uh, if a person who never went on a roller coaster asks you how does it feel like, I'm sure you could explain to them, saying there's a lot of movement, there's people screaming all over the place, there might be somebody vomiting, and the movement gets you out of from surprise. There's different ways you could describe riding on a roller coaster, but the person will never really know what a roller coaster ride is until he or she gets on a roller coaster and rides it for him or herself and experiences the thrill and the excitement and the fears and the anxiety of being tossed around in a cart while going around several hundred miles per hour on a cart or something. So the same thing with prayer. One cannot really understand prayer until you actually lived a prayerful life and you pray with sincerity and you allow God to speak to you and speak to your heart and ask God to help you pray. Because only God knows himself. We do not know God in the same way as God knows himself. So we have to ask God for help to guide us on how to pray to him, how to love him, how to reach him, how to be a part of him. Because without God, that will not be possible. So I guess that's a bit of what I want to talk about regarding prayer and the importance of prayer. And again, there's many different things, different topics that atheists love to bring up and speak on. Unfortunately, it's difficult without having an atheist here present to actually get into a real discussion. So to just move on from different topic to topic, hopefully to keep viewers interested. Hopefully, I see something that catches their attention, and we go on from there. But as a former atheist, it was not easy to come to the conclusion that yes, there is a God, and I want to be Catholic. It's definitely not easy. There's a lot of hurdles to take. This is why I wrote my book, Atheism is Stupid, because I wanted people to actually sit down if they could and read the book and read how I went through each argument of atheism and reevaluated atheism. And that's pretty much what I did. I started to reevaluate atheism as I studied physics and biology and psychology and philosophy, working for my degrees in college in New York City. I just started to think, I said, wait a minute, this God business, this religion business is not that crazy at all. There might be something to this. And even reading from Richard Dawkins, his book, The Watchmaker, he mentions right there in the beginning that creation, the nature has a purpose. And this is an atheist, one of the most outspoken atheists of the world, Richard Dawkins, Dr. Richard Dawkins, a zoologist. And he's saying in his book, the Watchmaker, that things in nature have a purpose. Now, when I read that, I started to think to myself, well, this guy's saying that things in nature have a purpose. What does that exactly mean? So that's when I kept with my studies using physics, learning about quantum physics, astrophysics, and whatnot, and started to realize that yes, there does seem to be a purpose to things in nature. And I was speaking about this in another broadcast that I did when the seven planets were discovered in the TRAPPIST-1 system. NASA was already excited about the new planets. They said, "Oh, we finally found some exoplanets that may be rocky, may have water, may have the same temperatures as Earth around springtime, and finally we may figure out whether there's life on other planets or not." And I started to think when I was reading that. I said, "Wait a minute." And the same thing happened to me years ago when I was an atheist. I said, "Wait a minute. We have this whole universe, and this universe is, to borrow from Trump, it's huge. And so far, we're just the only ones here. There's something up with that. It's just, it felt like a splinter in my brain trying to figure that out. Why is that? All this space in the universe, all these different planets, and yet we are the only ones here. Why is that?" And then when you put the factors that other planets, other solar systems are older than ours, Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. And there's solar systems out there older than our own solar system, other galaxies older. Yet we have not detected any life. Nothing. And they had more time to develop life than we had. If we truly believe that evolution happened the way it happened, and the laws of physics are the same everywhere throughout the universe, then these other galaxies, these other planets, have more time to develop life than we did here on Earth. Yet not one planet out there we have found with any life. We have not found any signals. And of course, I say signals as in communications, technology, because if we manage to develop technology in such a short period of time on a cosmic scale, then why haven't any other species out there in the universe who had more time to develop, not been able to develop the technology to send signals or whatnot? Moreover, since the universe is expanding and the fastest thing in the universe is the speed of light, and these planets out there are older than our planet, then these signals should have been hitting us constantly because they have more time to travel. They're older, so while these signals were traveling towards us, the Earth was still in formation. Dinosaurs were probably still around. So these signals have more than enough time to reach us and hit us many times, and they were sending multiple signals because they're older than us, so they have more time to be able to send so many signals out there. But yet nothing at all. No signals for any life out there. So I started to think about that while studying astronomy, in particular, and of course philosophy mixed into that. And then the Earth itself, this planet. I mean, the other day I went on YouTube and I was looking at the live stream of the International Space Station, and I recommend everybody to check it out. I mean, I started praying watching that. That's so inspiring that was. Just seeing there on the screen the planet, our beautiful planet, just there in space and live. I mean, it's a live broadcast, but I mean that's as close as my eyes will get to seeing the Earth in real time from outer space, and just seeing this beautiful planet just there, the clouds. You guys should see the lightning thing flashing in the clouds, and just thinking, this is the only planet so far with life, and not just life, but a variety of life, all different kinds of species. And this is why I believe that life actually needed more time. I believe in evolution and so forth. I believe in cosmic inflation, the Big Bang theory. I believe in all of that. I do not see any conflict between those ideas and the idea of God and creation. I see no conflict whatsoever in that. But I do believe that evolution needed more time to be able to process all of these different life forms. And I think we're getting to that point where we may have to reevaluate the theory of evolution. Just recently, there was discovered in Canada some bacteria that's older than the Earth, which is a bit mind-boggling. And I mean older than, I should say, older than the oldest life that we thought was on Earth. So it's more than 4 billion years. So scientists are scratching their heads, wondering where did this life come from? If it's older than anything else before the Earth was really ready to support life, why is this here? Now, there's many ideas this bacteria could have been able to survive um, the conditions like tardigrades, the organisms tardigrades, and they're able to survive in space. They dry up and then come back to life. I mean, they're very interesting creatures. They're able to survive any harsh condition. Maybe this bacteria was resilient and it was dead. That's one idea. Another idea is that it came from Mars, that a piece of Mars came, and when Mars had an atmosphere and it crashed on Earth, and that's how it came here. Another theory is that an asteroid crashed here. The asteroids that the scientists believe brought water to the Earth. Maybe the bacteria was there and it landed here on Earth. Or maybe it was a planet that's believed to have existed where the asteroid belt is at. There's some theories out there that the asteroid belt was actually a planet that didn't develop well, or perhaps a planet that collided with our planet and did not last the impact, and the remains are still there between the Earth and Mars. So there's all these different ideas about life, and yet on Earth there's so many life forms, so many different um, creatures, all different kinds of birds, all different kinds of snakes, of mammals, plants. I mean, you ever gone to a botanical garden? I've been to the one in the Bronx. I've been to the one in Boston. I mean, it's just amazing. I wish I had a week just to stay there and study every plant, because you see one plant and you're like, wow, look at this. And then you walk and you see another one. And look at this one. And then you walk and you see another one. And it's all this, these amazing plants and flowers. It's just amazing. It's mind boggling how these organisms develop on this planet. And I personally believe, and I know many other scientists and also professors of mine also believe, that evolution needed more time to really process all of that in order to allow these different organisms to evolve on this planet. And that in itself was very inspiring to me. Made me think a lot about God and religion when I was an atheist. I thought to myself, all this diversity of life on Earth, maybe Genesis, maybe there's some truth to it. On this day God made the plants, on this day God made this, and this. Obviously, the author of Genesis was aware of the diversity of life. How did this person know? Now, some people believe that the book was authored by Moses. How did this person know if this person never traveled the whole world? I mean, Charles Darwin, he was not aware of all these different animals that allow him to really open his mind on evolution until he went to the island of Galapagos. In Europe, there was no such thing as the kind of turtles that he saw over there, and the variation of turtles. Some of them have shorter necks, some of them have longer necks, which allow him to figure out that the animals adapted to their environment, or the finches, the different sized beaks. He never saw anything of that in England, in the United Kingdom, Great Britain. Yet the writer of Genesis was able to describe the concept that there is a variety of life on Earth. There's different kinds of species. Now, this text was written in the Middle East. Then he should have been aware only of the animals in that region. Mind you, horses were not even around there in that region. Yet, this author of this book knew that there was diversity in life, that God created a diverse creatures, different kinds of creatures. So all of these things made me think that maybe the Bible does contain some kind of truth to it. It might not be hardcore scientific truth using the scientific method, but there's something to it. The people that wrote these books, these texts, were not some dumb shepherd or goat herders. They actually had some knowledge, they had some wisdom, and they conveyed it to the best of their ability, to the best of the language allowed them to. And then you look at the book of Genesis and you start reading through the chapters. And let there be light. And then we know from cosmology that the first particle to appear at the Big Bang was light, photons. So I'm reading this, I'm like, how the heck did this guy know that light was the first particle to appear in the universe at the Big Bang? How did they know this? How did he know this? And then you move on from there. And one of these days, when I have time, I'm going to go through it piece by piece, Genesis, comparing it to the Big Bang Theory and evolution, so that you could actually get a mental illustration of what I'm talking about. How these theories seem to correlate with one another. And it's fascinating stuff. And as an atheist, I just started to really focus on that. And little by little, like I said, it was not easy. It wasn't like one day I woke up and said, okay, I want to be Catholic. I want to believe in God. It does not work that way. It took a very, very long time. Even after joining the church, I still have questions. And still question even to today. Because that's part of the life. That's part of the being a Catholic Christian. It's not that you become Catholic overnight and you know everything and that's it and you're set for life. That's not how it works. It's a process. It's an ongoing process. And I like it that way because in that way it keeps me busy. It keeps me focused on learning new things. Because once I settle on the fact that I know everything, then I become an idiot because I get stuck in that box, believing that okay, I know it all and that's it. I don't need to know anything else. And that's where we do not want to go to. We want to always be on the quest for knowledge, the quest to learn new things, to evolve, to acquire more knowledge, to grow in that knowledge, to internalize that knowledge. And that goes for anything else as well, not just for religion. But for the sake of the program, we're referring to religion. Is that you have to continue the path, you have to continue growing in it. You cannot just say, okay, I know it all, and that's it. Okay, I memorized the Ten Commandments. I memorized the Bible front and back. I memorized the Catechism front and back. I know it all, and that's it. I go to Mass every Sunday. I go to Mass on Holy Days obligation. I receive ashes. I get palms. I participate in Holy Week services. I participate in Christmas. And that's it. I know it all. I don't need anything else. That's not how it's supposed to be. You have to continue going forward and learning more. And for the atheists, the steps might be a bit longer because obviously there's a lot of hurdles that they have to take. And for Catholics out there listening to me, if you're interested in trying to convert an atheist or convince an atheist, do not bash religion onto them. Do not judge them. Let them learn little by little. Feed them milk before you feed them solid food, as St. Paul says in Corinthians. because that's how it works. Because if you start jamming all of this heavy stuff on them, all of this religion on them, you just start proselytizing. Then you start choking them because they're not ready to process the solid food. You have to get them a hello, so to speak. Get them a hello and start working from this slowly. Befriend them. Let them see how Catholicism works in your life. So these atheists see this, say, wait a minute. I heard all this stuff about Catholicism. I heard that Catholics are bad, and they're obsessed with sex, that they're prudes, that they're this, and that they're judgmental, that they love guilt trips. But wait a minute, look at this guy. He's being nice to me. He's being humble, friendly, non judgmental. He's actually helping one another, not just Catholics. He's not up in the clouds somewhere. He's actually down here amongst the rest of the human race. That's how a Catholic works best when evangelizing and tries to convert atheists. There's some people out there, Catholics and or non-Catholics, who love to go around and bash atheists, calling them heathens, cursing them out, whatnot. Unfortunately, one of the people that was on my broadcast last year, Dean Esme, I'm not sure what happened to him, but he started to turn. I don't know what happened. He started creating all these different accounts and started bashing atheists, cursing at them. At one point, I saw a tweet where he was using the N word, that's derogatory against African Americans. And I was thinking to myself, is this really Dean? What happened to him? He seems so angry. So I started to message him privately on Twitter and started saying, if you're interested in dialoguing with atheists and trying to convert them, you have to change your approach because you're just scaring them away. You're basically feeding them their stereotypes of Christians. This little cartoon that goes around the internet showing people with Bibles beating up on somebody else and saying, and the top it says, "We love our neighbors" or "Do not oppress us," and whatnot. That's a satirical cartoon. So I told Dean that he was basically feeding into the stereotype that atheists have of Catholics and Christians, that we bash people that have a religion. And he started getting upset with me. He started calling me names, and he started. And I said, "Well, I mean, there must be an underlying psychological issue with this guy. Maybe something's going on at home. Who knows?" But I did my best to try to use Christian correction, try to guide him and whatnot. And unfortunately, let's see if it works. In the long run, and I say that because he got mad at me and he blocked me pretty much after calling me names, and obviously I hit something deep within him. So hopefully we'll have to pray for Dean, and hopefully whatever it is that he's going through, whatever demons are oppressing him, will be cast out in the name of Jesus. Because at the point he's scaring atheists away, and I told him about this. I sent him a personal letter saying that atheists do not respect him. They see him as a cartoon, as a caricature, and he's hurting himself and he's hurting the church. He's hurting God by taking on this new persona online, especially using a Catholic saint, Maximilian Kolbe, who was a hero who was selfless, who took the place of a prisoner during the Holocaust. So he's not really living up to the expectations of the saint by going around bashing atheists and making them feel like they're less than Catholics or less than Christians, all in the name of criticism. I mean, what's the point of criticizing if you're not convincing anybody? All you're doing is scaring people away. So, and he's just one example. There's other people out there that go around and attack atheists and bash them and whatnot, thinking that that's going to do any good. Again, the best thing to do is to befriend them and also to criticize atheism, to show the faults of atheism. Don't criticize the people, criticize the ideology, the concept of atheism. And that's what I do online. I send a lot of tweets criticizing atheism, Some atheists get offended, but I make it clear. I say, wait a minute, are you atheism or are you an atheist? Because atheism and atheist are not synonyms. Atheism is the ideology, the belief, the system, the concept. Atheist is the person who adheres to that belief or ideology or concept. So when you're criticizing atheism, you're not criticizing a person, you're criticizing a thing. So there's no reason why you should get all worked up by somebody critiquing this ideology. Just like as somebody criticizes the presidency of the United States of America, I'm not going to get offended, even though I am an American, even though I have a president. I'm not going to get offended because the criticism is not towards me as an individual, but as the nation. And though I am part of the nation, part of America, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to get offended when somebody from outside the United States insults America or whatnot. So there's a big difference between criticizing atheism and criticizing an atheist. I do not criticize atheists. I criticize atheism, the concept of whatnot. And those are the best ways that we could do it whenever we try to convince atheists that atheism does not make any sense. That's why I wrote the book, Atheism is Stupid. I'm not calling atheists stupid. The book is not atheists are stupid, it's atheism is stupid. Meaning I'm calling the concept stupid as a former atheist, and I explain why. Why is atheism stupid? And it's not exactly the words that I use in the book. So for a long time I was an atheist, and atheism is stupid, and this is why. And then I start chapter 1, and I start explaining, going piece by piece, presenting the atheist arguments and refuting them, showing why they are stupid, they do not make sense. And I already have volume 1 published, and volume 2 is coming soon, and then volume 3, and so forth. Well, I'm going to go through every argument, every concept of atheism out there, which I held when I was an atheist, and refute it, show the hurdles that I came over when I was in the transition from atheism. So the atheists out there who truly are atheists who read the book and say, "Wait, that's what I believe," and I thought it was right, but look, he completely dismantled the argument. All these years, I thought that this argument atheist was correct, but here he destroyed it in the book. And so far, that's been the reaction from many atheists who have emailed me. A lot of atheists have emailed me, thanking me for the book, that they read the book. A lot of them actually show interest in becoming Catholic. Some are becoming Catholic this year, all from reading the book, because they saw the arguments of atheism listed before them and how they were refuted. Not with opinions, but with actual science, philosophy, and the other appropriate areas depending on the origin of the argument. So if it's historical, obviously I'm going to use historical sources to refute it. If it's scientific argument or philosophical argument, then I use science and philosophy to refute it. So that's what I do in the book Atheism is Stupid. Again, I'm not calling any atheist stupid. So any atheists out there listening to this broadcast, you're more than welcome to get the book and make up your own mind. If you're not secure in your atheism, then the book will be dangerous to you because it's going to make you think. It's going to make you reevaluate your atheism, which is what I did, and eventually led me to go away to move beyond atheism, because I came to the conclusion that atheism is stupid. It holds no water, it has no scientific background or substance, it has no philosophical background or substance. It is just a negation of theism without any substance, without any rationality. And I proved that in the book. I showed in the book why atheism does not work. It may be cool, it may feel cool if you're going through a rebel stage in your life. It may feel cool. Yeah, I don't believe in God. Yeah, I don't believe in religion. It's stupid. it may feel good for that moment, but then when you start maturing and you start to realize and you start to really think, then you start to realize that atheism is just nonsense. It doesn't work at all, and it's just a phase, pretty much. And people like Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook have experienced it. He was an atheist, and now he said on Christmas last year that he's not an atheist. That he had a period of doubt, a period of question, whether he understands now that religion is important. And again, atheism is just a phase. You start questioning things. Sometimes you feel empowered because you might have a group behind you, a posse, a crowd, and you feel powerful. You feel like you have people, and it's addictive. But then after a while, when you start to think, when you start to become more honest with yourself and more honest with reality, then you start seeing, wait a minute, atheism really doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. And then when at the end you start converting, you become some kind of religious, whether Catholic, Protestant, whatever. And again, it's all based on your path in life and how it moves on from there and your choices. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about tonight. Hopefully, I'll get some atheists to join me on the next broadcast, and hopefully they email me and they present the requirements so that I'm able to judge whether this person is not coming on to be a troll or whatnot, and we could have an honest, civil discussion, and hopefully learn from each other. And again, that's the whole purpose of this broadcast. This broadcast is not meant to convert anybody. It's not meant to bash anybody. It's just meant to discuss, to offer criticism in a civil manner, in an intellectual manner, and whatnot, and defend one another's claims and ideas using reliable sources. Then a person's not just speaking from the heart or speaking from anecdotes, but actually are able to present a solid case with evidence, whatever is they believe or not believe. So this has been another episode of Atheist Open Mic. Keep questioning, keep looking, and until the next time. Take care, God bless, and Mary keep. And for those of you in the Northeast, prepare for snow. There's snow coming in a few hours, and also next Tuesday. It appears to be a blizzard coming according to the news. So please be safe out there. Drive carefully. Do not go outside if there's no need to go outside. And remember to be kind to one another. Bye now.